In 3 years' time, I expect to see every second one of these on the road will have a tailgate just like this one. Today I'm going to start just lifting this line up across the middle here. Now we're going to go from forming to more bending the piece of sheet. So I've got a pair of vice grips that I've modified some time ago, and they're not really that suitable, so we might chop them up again and change them a little bit to what we've got at the moment, but we'll get the basics working. Now I'm going to have to put a little cut in the corner here, and just to allow it to move around, because we're going to have our number plate recess. The top of it is going to be this scribe line in here. And the other thing we've also got to be aware of is we keep the line straight, because where we're forming the metal and we're actually stretching the metal out, this is naturally going to stay where it is. Once we start bending the metal, we're going to start lifting our scribe line. So it'll be a case of we have to continually check back to this line to make sure we're going on the right amount, and we wind up with a straight line when we're finished. And just a quick hello to everyone that's new to the channel. We've got a heap of new subscribers from the last video, so it turns out chopping a hole in a perfectly good tailgate and picking up the hammer and banging a few dents into it is a success. So big welcome to everyone who's new, and a big thank you to everyone who's been with us from the start. And keep the comments coming, guys, because we really appreciate that. So I'm going to use the radius of this piece of round bar on here to just introduce a bit of shape into the panel. And we're going to have to do a few passes, and we'll play it by ear a little bit. I'm running up against my previous former, so we can actually do this the way we've been doing it before with our T-dolly. But what I might do is just allow this to move up in here a bit. So I'll put a cut in the corner for now. I think we'll just come in a bit from the end to allow enough room for our former. And we're just under our scribe line. And we're in about that far on here. So already we're starting to get this curl out. Now we've got to be watching all the time that we're not going to flatten any of this out, and that's going to be pretty easy to do. So it's possible that we will have to come back and work this area above our curve because we've pulled some of the original panel shape out of it. But we'll just go a little bit more. Whenever we're doing a metal shaping thing like we're doing here, it's always good to sort of keep a mental note in your head of what's actually happening. So because there's a fullness to this panel and it curves this way, and we're tipping this edge out, we're actually stretching this piece along here. So if you find that you're reaching a point where you're fighting it and you can't really get it, we can trim this back a bit because I've allowed a bit of waste on here at the moment, but I'll rather keep it as long as I can for as long as I can. The old Chippy's mantra with your piece of wood, don't cut it until you absolutely have to. So, but we've got to be aware that this edge here is going to get bigger, but I really want to fold that back under later, so then we're going to have to be shrinking it down all the way as well. So it's a little bit of backwards and forwardsing and things like that to just get the result you want. Now, I want this curve to be the biggest in the middle, so it's going to taper from nothing on the edge here all the way out to the middle, and we'll have the steepest part of it in the centre section of the tailgate, and then it's going to taper back the other way. So. this side here because until we form up the opposite of this, we don't want to be going too far in this section here. So I'll just work this edge along the bottom here. This is where the patience game plays off. I'll just grab my T-dolly I was using last time and we'll just get this little area in here sorted and then we'll be able to start working on this edge in here. But we're starting to get, like, we've got this nice steep thing in there. It's probably as far as what I want in here at this stage, but I think I would like the curl to start probably 5 or 6 millimetres above where I've got it right in the centre. And we've still got good shape here. Now this centre section has pulled up rather quickly because that's a very simple process to just start rolling that out. And standing back on it could be a little bit low in here. We might have to just put something in there to prop the centrepiece out a bit to get it to go where we want it. But we can also stretch this area with the hammer and dolly as well. But if we work this little spot in here, get it to flow across, and then we can get a bit of a feel for where we're going with it. Now the former that we made comes to just right in here. So we've got that point there, so we can get this little area in here with a bit more curve in it. There's no reason why we couldn't just make a longer former and run to the centre. That would work as well. If we look across it now, this line's getting a little bit of a curve uphill in the middle, which is what we're expecting. Now if the skin was off the car, we could just get this with a round dolly of some form, even just a piece of old water pipe or something like that, a steel pipe, and we could hammer the other side and work it. But the challenge for me is to see how far we can get with what we've got. So just keep working it, and like I say, I'm not going to rule out pulling the skin off. It's entirely possible we'll have to do that. Okay, what can we do in here? Got a little bit of a dent in here that's been made by the end of the T-dolly, just on that point there. So we've got a bit of a spot in there, and we've got an in between the two lines that I've made with the pair of vice That's come up pretty nice now. We've still got a little bit more work to go in there. I don't really want to overbend this area, but I'd like to see this line here just come up a little bit higher, and I think I'm outside the reach of the grips. That's feeling quite nice through there. It's coming on, it's ramping out in here. That's almost a result there. I'd like this little spot in here to be a little bit deeper and just hammering that on the top. Although taking out most of the little dent I had in here, it's dragged this back a little bit. And that's going to be the nature of what we're doing. It's going to be a little bit of backwards and forwards until we get the result we want. And I've still got a little dent in there that I might be able to get out with this one. Bringing our line back in, and we can see the difference now. The scribe line's coming up because we've rolled it out, which is fair enough. So the fold's going to now be below the scribe line. But we'll hammer this one in here a bit more. Right, so I'm thinking we might get our former out, see if I can lift this little spot in the corner here one-sided. We can actually weld a tag onto that and drag that one back, but we'll see what we can achieve. Have you come to help Dad? Eh? You're the helping hound today. Look at that. Look what we did to the ute. Hey, doggy dog. Righto, so we need to get this edge here to run across the middle there. So we're a little bit low on that. Now originally I was going to radius that, and I think I will. So we'll get there and we'll give this a bit more of a grind across this top edge and take this sharp edge off here a bit more. And then we're going to have to get it to run across the middle. So that's going to be hand formed. We might have a crack at this with some vice grips for now and get a rough line in there. And we're going to have to get some reference points. So we're down by about 2 millimetres on the other line, and if we work on about 96 for the top point, we're going to say that that's actually got to be lifted up there. So this has still got to lift up higher because we don't have this point here at a point in the centre here. So we have to work this up a bit more. Right. This is where it all comes down to. You just got to be a bit careful. Work your way backwards and forwards. And like I say before, I've not done this before. This is a bit of an experiment for me as well. So we'll see what can't do much damage from that side. Righto. So now the scribe line here is nearly at the point where we want our top crease to be. So we might just overbend that a little bit to start with, and then we'll come back and radius it afterwards. we might just grab a close-up on that one at the moment and we'll have a look along it. It's going where we want it to. So we're starting to get a result now. So we've got this nice curve in it here, which we want all the way across to the middle. We've still got, I've banged that a bit deep there. I've got a dent in there that I really want out. This bit here is still a little bit high, but we can pull that down with a pair of vice grips. Now, metal shaping's like a game of chess. You've always got to be looking 6 or 7 moves ahead of where you are, and you don't really know what your opponent's going to get up to. So we don't really know exactly what result we're going to get from this because we're not sure how the metal's going to react. So it's like your opponent in a chess game. So if we keep thinking strategies, and the other thing we've also always got to be aware of, can I have your little camera on me now? The other thing we've always got to be aware of is don't put a fold in that stops you doing the next step. So if, for example, I got in now and I started doing my return fold back in here and I've still got work to do along this line here, I just couldn't achieve it because I can't get in there to do it. So you've always got to be thinking about what process will stop you from doing something else further down the track. So anyway, we'll get back to getting that out and about a bit. And we've got a bit of a bulge in here, just off there. So if we can sight along that, the line sort of comes into here and then it steps out to the middle, and that's to do with how we've stretched the metal. It's dropped back in there, so we're going to have to work. This area here has got to come in a little bit to correct that bulge back, so that dip in there. I'll get all the way to the middle here and then we'll leave it for now, and we're going to have to start working back from the other side, but I still want to get this side a little bit further before I tackle the other side, because once we cut up our former and reverse it to do the opposite side of the car, we want to get all of this area finished off completely. So we've got our just under where we want to be there, so it's got to come up a little bit yet, right in the middle. So we're working on 100 millimetres to the main line here, sorry, the bottom line here, and we want 96 millimetres to the line above it, which we should be pretty close to now. Putting this T-dolly in behind, and this one's quite a small radius, so that's only around 10 millimetre round bar on there. By hammering this side of it down here, I'm taking the sharp edge off I created with the vice grips and giving me that nice radius I'm looking for. And it'll also take off the edges of the jaw marks. Still got the little dip in here. We might have to live with that and just have to fill that one. We'll see how we go, but it's going to get worse because once we start rolling this corner in here to make the little radius for our number plate recess, it's going to want to drag this point down. We'll see what we can achieve through here. Running out of room. All right. What's the matter with you? Hey, you come to help? Yeah, there you go. Not looking too bad, really. It's just a little bit too much room for my slapper to fit in there, and use that as a bit of a lever to work this corner out. So we want a little bit more meat on it. Okay, this is about the right size, so I'll just wedge that into the corner of the panel. Quite getting where I want to be. Right, that's lifted about 80% of that little dent I put in it. We can just So I'm just putting my slapper in behind it, and I'm twisting it to try and pick up the edge of the slapper right in the centre of that little dent and work that point up in the air a little bit. And that's not too bad. Now you've got to remember that we want this spot here on this top line to sort of fade into the panel there. So we're a little bit high just in about here. So I'm going to see if I can support past the end of it and bring this area here down a bit. It's so close. A little bit of filler in there is going to sort that out. We might put our former back into it. And just work this edge in here a bit. There's definitely a low spot in here. There might not be anything we can do about it. And it's probably like just coin size. And the reality is it's going to take 2/10 of no filler to fill it. So I might just concede defeat on that one and leave that for now. But I think we want to work this line again through there. But I'm happy with the way this sort of flows into this area towards the middle. And once we get this area in here sorted now, we're probably at the point where we can look at doing the other side. So what I'll do is I'll just get the grinder out on this, and I'll give this a bit more of a radius on here, and then we'll get it back in there and see what we can do. I've given this a good chamfer on the top now, so it's got quite a nice radius. So we'll take this sharp line off here, which is what I'm aiming for, and my piece of wire that I had for a guide's broken off, so we'll just have to aim in the general direction and hopefully it'll go in. So. Okay. That's what we're aiming for. It's going to be hard to pick up on camera because we've got a broken line of paint there, but I've just taken that sharp crease out of there and it's got this nice rounded edge on it. So you can see it in here the best. We'll just firm this line up in here again, and we'll just about have this side done, which is going to be a winner. That feels pretty good. Got a little high in it where I was working it. It's pulled the line out. I'm not sure if it's more the fact. I think it's just one little spot just in there. Wants to come in just a little bit. Okay, that's got him down. So I've got a little low in it here. And I think it's possibly a smell high on the line just in this point here. And that is, it's off the former there. So. Okay, all right. I think we've got that just about as good as we can get it as a one-sided affair. A couple of little spots in here I'd like to work down. Now here's another little trick. Different weight hammers are going to give you a different impact each time. So now I'm just doing some finishing work. I don't want my heavy hammer coming in on the T-dolly. So we Just want to smooth that out a little bit. It is pretty good. So. Okay. Just get that a bit further in there. I just want to try and get this little end piece. I'm not quite happy with it. Just reached the point now, because I haven't got the clamp on it anymore over here. As I'm hitting it, it's walking backwards and coming out. When you think about it, it's a tapered shape, so you start clobbering away on it, it's going to want to just walk its way out of the crevice where it's wedged. Just this little tiny area where I put that dent in it to start with, and it's got a high spot below the dent area, and it's just going to be enough to be a problem. So we can just pick on a little spot there and just bring that down, get rid of any metal high spot that might be there. And apart from that, they're really pretty good. Patience, 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 patience. Okay, I'm going to call it. That's as good as we're going to have this end. We've still got to put our little V in the frame just in below the line, but what I'll do is I'll make some tooling to do that, and it'll be reversible so we can use it for the other end. So we can leave that now and we can jump into the other end and do the same as what we've got here, and then we can start moving back on with this. And so I'm pretty happy with all of this right the way up to the middle. And so if we can get the same result from here out to that side over there, we can then look at folding this edge underneath here, and that's going to be easy as well. If it's not easy, you're doing it wrong. Okay, time to axe it, turn it around. I've reversed our former and I've got it set in this side, just basically the mirror image of what we had before, and I wound up just running a bead of weld across that chamfered edge that I made on it to bring it back to the same height it was originally, and then I've ground the chamfer on the other side. So I've got it wedged in the tailgate now. I've got the same 2 blocks of wood in there behind this, so we've got it at the same height, and already it's raising up this little point here because we've wedged the blocks in there and lifted it. So we're heading in the right direction. We can just start working it the same way we worked the other one. And the big difference now is we know what's going to happen because we've had a success on the other side. This will just be a matter of knocking it down and moving on. that's a pretty close match to the other side. A few things happened a bit differently, and it must have just been the technique I used. I wound up with this little folded in line being a little bit low, but I've worked that up into the panel and it's very close in appearance to the other side. Put the same dent in over here. I didn't really want to. I thought I'd be above that. I'm not worried about these outside corners. We'll make some little tooling, like I said before, and we'll do them with the gate off the car, but it'll happen before we make our tray up and put in there, so we can still get in there and finish them off. But for what we want, I think we've got this piece here pretty much where we want it to be. And I'll just work this area in here and blend it into this piece over here, and we should be just about on a home run. I can add a little bit just in here, I think, at this stage. So I'll just knock that in there. Okay, so we're going to come from there down to here, into there. and we can just about call it we've got that piece done. Yep.
Why don't you take the paint off?
Oh, I'm not worried about it. Yes, there's no problem with taking the paint off. I just don't need it off at this point, so I'm not worried about it. It's not affecting any of the work I'm doing, apart from where I've got a paint splinter stuck in my finger.
Would it help you see what the metal's doing better?
No. It's going to go rusty when we leave it. Righto, I'm going back to our little special tool we made for folding this edge in, and I'm thinking I can put a cut in it. Where can I bend it to? Oh, it's going to be close if we do it like that. I might angle this side here off on a bit of an angle there, and then put a cut in it like that, and then I'll radius this top edge so that hopefully it can tuck into the top of under my top line, and then we'll be able to just sort of hook him in, bend him in hopefully, and get him to be able to do this fold across the bottom. So we'll have a look at that now. I've got a couple of ideas for here where it tucks in, and the initial idea I've got is going to be tricky, and I don't know if I can pull it off or not, but what I was hoping was to have this edge here, the low point, and have it angle up a little bit, and then have a flat in behind there where the license plate lights will sit in the flat, and that way sighting across here there's this little rebate behind it that the lights sit up a bit higher, but I'm not sure if that's going to work, so we'll just play that one by ear when we get closer to the time. So it might just be the same as this, just run straight in, and either way it's going to work, but it's just one of those things, probably creating work for myself, just making it a bit more difficult than what it really needs to be. So we'll have a play with this thing, see what we can achieve, and we'll come back and give it a test run. Now, I've just modified our little folding tool that we used on the bottom, and now it's got a second folder that we can use in the top here, but it's not quite deep enough, and I don't think I want to cut any more, or add any more metal to here and then play with that. I'm just going to trim this back a little bit first, and then we should be able to start shaping that and getting a similar sort of a line in across here and turning this into an edge there. So we'll just snip a bit off and then we'll get into it. A bit like the first incarnation. It's still quite hot from welding it and doing what I did to it, so it's the price you pay for enthusiasm. I'm just eyeballing it at this stage. We could have done the same thing and got an accurate line all the way across the gate and cut this to an accurate depth, and it'll be easier. But once again, something this cool needs to be rushed, I think. That's my theory anyway. I've got a big shrink here at the minute. So what's actually happening now is we've got this little wavy edge, and that's because when we've rolled it out and the fact that we had this crown area in the middle here, we're now trying to shrink that back as we're going around the corner. So it's going to take a few goes backwards and forwards across the middle to take this wave out of it. But there's a fair bit of tension in the panel, so we should be able to just work it slowly, and that should shrink back in as we go. And same as everything, just patience. Take your time with it and you'll get a result. Now, in 3 years' time, I expect to see every second one of these on the road will have a tailgate just like this one. Okay, as I suspected, the little wave has settled itself down, and we've wound up a little bit fatter in the middle than we have on the ends, but I don't think that matters. It just sort of adds to that whole flaring out, and this line tapers a bit as well, so I think we'll go with that. Okay, just grabbed our old friend and cut the outrigger off him, and we might just poke him up in here and see what we can achieve. Stiffening that edge up, so we should be able to just pack it again and work the outside edge on that former. I'm just looking across here and I think that looks absolutely fantastic. So we've got our basic style line in now. I'll make some tooling so we can finish these ends off. And I've got a bit of hammering left to do on this bottom edge in there, but it has come up really quite well. There's just a few little waves in there, but I can finish that. But I think I'm at the point now where it will be off the car. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see how we go. When we come back, we will make a little plinth for our little lion to sit on, like a little pedestal out there. So we'll press it out, it'll be a circular area, and we're going to have to make it so it'll pull this line out in the centre. The bottom side of it's going to have to raise more than the top, and we want the whole thing probably to sit 5 or 6 millimetres further off the panel than where it is now. And I would like to have just like a nice little bead line all the way around it. So it's going to be tricky. I'll make a special tool for it, and it'll be 2 pieces, it'll be a little die. I'll drill 2 holes through here, I'll put 2 bolts in it, and then we'll bolt the pieces together, and that'll press the tailgate into the shape we want. And the end ones are going to be easy. So once we get them done, next video, get the lion sorted out, all we've got to do then is make our tray to go in here. And before we can weld the tray in there, we're going to have to make sure we've got provision for our lights. And it's been thrown out there by several people that I put a reversing camera on it, so we'll do that as well. And so we want our wires to go in a safe spot. Like this car never had a license plate light or anything like that in the tailgate from factory, so they never actually had a factory conduit or anything for the wiring to run across. But we might look at the top tailgate for a station wagon, and that'll have the same thing. There's lights in the tailgates on the Holden station wagons, so there'll be some sort of a rubber conduit that flexes when the tailgate opens and closes, and we might see if we can steal one of them and put that in here. And then a little bit of thought involved, because we don't want cargo in the back of the ute being dragged in and out to actually damage the wiring. So we'll have a look at that before we actually get our tray all glued in there and happening, and then naturally we'll have a bit of fun making a tray. So a couple of quick things. Deb and I have started 2 other YouTube channels. One of them is a lot of my old build photos over the decades, and there's everything in there from reference photos to where like a paint line would come on something, stuff that I wanted to know where a little bracket went or faced and things like that, right through to all the step-by-steps I took for the owners of the cars at the time of the work I was doing on it. And that's just a slideshow, it's just photos, there's a bit of gentle music on there. And the other one is our Road to Restoration channel. Please subscribe to that. We're trying to develop a channel just for you guys at home who want a bit of guidance, and if you contact us, all the details are actually on that channel. We can either help you by making something here in the workshop to demonstrate what we're talking about, but ultimately I'd like to build it to the point where we come to you and help you one-on-one, and we get footage of that so that we can share that with the rest of the enthusiasts around the world. So until then guys, stay safe, we'll catch you next time.